There are many extraordinary places on the planet that seem to be taken from another planet. But among them all, there is probably none as incredible as this island, which a few years ago was classified by UNESCO as the strangest region on Earth. In this new uncensored world video, we are going to discover Socotra, the strangest and most mysterious island on Earth. One of the most impressive places, but as you will see, also one of the most unknown and mysterious. A remote island of Yemen known as the Alien Island, due to curiosities such as having a flora and fauna of extraterrestrial appearance that only exists here, having a landscape more similar to the moon than the Earth, having a population that has been disconnected from the rest of the world for centuries, or a climate so extreme that has much to do with the health of this remote place. A region with unique curiosities, such as containing trees that seem to sprout blood, which have formed this living laboratory of evolution. Getting many of its species have adapted to such a hostile environment, which has created unique shapes and behaviors that seem typical of a fantasy film by Tim Burton. Get ready to travel with us to one of the most inaccessible places in the world, a remote island in the middle of the wildest of the seas, isolated for centuries because access to it was often synonymous with death. This isolation has given rise to legends, such as that of women known as sorceresses of the sea, who, according to the stories, could attract travelers with their songs and charms. A legend that surely influences the fact that today, foreign visitors are received with curiosity and affection, in a society that even today, as you will discover, preserves fascinating traditions, such as the practice of polygamy. Pay attention and don't miss this video. Soon you will travel with us through what is probably the most extraordinary and unexplored place on the planet. Let's get started. Located in the middle of the Indian Ocean, about 380 kilometers south of Yemen, and 240 kilometers east of the Horn of Africa, is Socotra, an island as remote as it is enigmatic. In 2008, UNESCO recognized the uniqueness of Socotra by declaring it a World Heritage Site, describing it as the strangest place on the planet. This title has a lot to do with the fact that the island is known as a true laboratory of evolution. Like the Galapagos Islands, Socotra has been a natural experimentation space where species, including the human species as you will soon discover, have developed unique adaptations to survive in such a hostile environment. On Socotra, more than 37% of its plants, 90% of its reptiles, and 95% of its land snails are endemic. That is, they cannot be found anywhere else in the world. This uniqueness is not limited to its biodiversity, as the island's inhabitants have also lived apart from the rest of the world for centuries, developing a unique culture and genetic characteristics. Soon you will learn the reasons for this isolation over millennia, a reality that has caused the inhabitants of Socotra to develop a unique language in the world, and genetic and cultural characteristics that cannot be found anywhere else, a unique human group in the world. To understand it better, it is necessary to go into the details of the geographical characteristics of this fantastic island. Socotra is the main and largest island of an archipelago comprising 4 islands and 2 rocky islets, and using the same name. The island has an extension of more than 3,600 square kilometers, being a little smaller than the Spanish island of Majorca, or similar to the Barbados Islands in the Caribbean. Despite its size, Socotra's population is surprisingly small, with less than 60,000 inhabitants. This results in an extremely low population density, which has helped much of the island remain undisturbed and in its natural state, creating a unique reality, with landscapes more akin to realities of other planets than planet Earth. Human settlement on Socotra is concentrated mainly in coastal areas, as the interior of the island is virtually uninhabitable. The intense winds that constantly batter Socotra's mountainous heartland, coupled with a dry climate and extreme temperatures, make these regions an almost impossible environment for human life. This unforgiving climate has not only shaped the island's geography and biodiversity, but also its inhabitants. who have had to adapt to an isolated existence in harmony with such a challenging environment. Much has to do with the fact that Socotra is considered, even today, one of the most inaccessible and remote islands on the planet, despite its proximity to the African continent. For millennia, the strong currents of the Indian Ocean, seasonal monsoon winds, and unpredictable tides made both access to and escape from the island difficult. These conditions not only preserved a unique and extraordinary biodiversity, but also kept its population virtually disconnected from the rest of the world. This forced isolation gave rise to a genetically unique society, flora and fauna, and did the same for its culture and landscapes. The island's inhabitants developed their own language, Socrates, which is not directly related to Arabic or any other language, and is now endangered. Socotra's isolation also contributed to its aura of mystery. For centuries, the few sailors and traders who managed to reach the island brought with them tales of a strange and magical place, inhabited by people and creatures that seemed otherworldly. This exoticism fed legends such as that of the sorceresses of the sea, women who, according to the stories, possessed mystical powers to attract sailors with their songs and charms. Although these stories are probably rooted more in the imagination of travelers than in reality, they reflect the fascination that Socotra has always aroused in those who dare to explore it. On Socotra, foreigners visiting the island are greeted with a mixture of curiosity and hospitality, a reflection of the open and resilient character of the Socotrian people. It is natural to understand that, in a community where contact with the outside world has historically been scarce, the arrival of outsiders generates great interest and admiration. Although cultural and religious norms limit direct interactions, especially between foreign men and local women, there are anecdotal accounts of travelers who have been fascinated by the beauty and warmth of the people of Socotra. Some have even chosen to stay on the island, attracted not only by its natural uniqueness, but also by the humanity and mysticism that surround it. These stories bring to mind ancient legends, such as that of the sorceresses of the sea. One fact that may be controversial for some tourists visiting the island is that, as in other parts of Yemen, polygamy is permitted in Socotra under Islamic law. Although this practice is limited due to economic conditions and the isolation of the population, it remains a cultural and legal option that reinforces the traditional and religious character of the island's society. Maintaining multiple wives and families is a considerable challenge in a community where resources are scarce, but its very existence as a possibility generates curiosity in some visitors, who find the island a fascinating combination of deeply rooted customs and a unique connection to their cultural roots. Perhaps part of the fascination foreigners feel for Socotra is influenced by this balance between tradition and isolation. The system that allows polygamy, coupled with a culture that values community, festive gatherings, and music as an emotional language, create a unique atmosphere on the world's strangest island. This environment, so distant from the modern world, transforms the island into a place that seems to stand still in time, attracting those seeking experiences that feel both mythical and real. The mixture of these practices with the natural beauty and mystery that surrounds Socotra makes the island an extraordinary destination. So in the final part of the video, we will help you understand how to travel to and enjoy this remote part of the planet. Before that, it is important to go into detail about the main aspects that make this incredible place on the planet so unique and so strange. Reasons why in 2008, Socotra was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO, which recognized it as one of the most exceptional and strange places in the world. This title is not surprising, since the island is known as the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean, a true laboratory of evolution in which many of its species, like its people, have developed unique characteristics to adapt to their hostile environment, creating forms and behaviors not found anywhere else in the world. That is why Socotra's biodiversity is so peculiar that it looks like something out of a science fiction movie. One of the most iconic symbols of this biodiversity is the dragon's blood tree. This tree, with its inverted umbrella shape, is a fascinating display of adaptation. Its red resin, which looks like blood as it gushes out, and gives the appearance that the tree itself is bleeding, was used in ancient times as a dye, incense, and medicine, and local legends attribute magical properties to it. In addition to its unique appearance and ancient uses, the dragon's blood tree has an extraordinary behavior related to its longevity and ability to survive in this extreme environment. This tree can live for several hundred years and has the ability to regenerate even in the most adverse conditions, such as prolonged drought or rocky terrain. Its inverted umbrella-shaped canopy is not only a peculiar design, but an evolutionary strategy to maximize water uptake, channeling scarce rainfall to its roots. This ability not only makes it a survivor of Socotra's hostile environment, but also a vital resource for the island's inhabitants, who use its leaves and trunks as a natural refuge from the island's relentless climate. This tree is thus a living testimony of how nature can thrive in extreme conditions and become an emblem of resilience and mystery. But in addition to the unique fauna and flora, Socotra's landscape is also extraordinary. Socotra's strong winds, extreme climate, and inaccessibility have sculpted a landscape so unusual that it looks more like something from an alien planet than from Earth. This hostile environment has shaped a mosaic of terrain that is striking in its diversity and uniqueness. Rugged mountains, their peaks worn down by relentless winds, create a dramatic image that rises above arid plains where only the most resilient species have found a way to survive. The rock formations, eroded over millennia, draw almost sculptural figures that look like the work of a cosmic artist. The beaches of Socotra, covered with salt white sand, are surrounded by turquoise waters that contrast with the aridity of the island's interior. These seemingly paradisiacal coasts are home to unique marine ecosystems that complement the terrestrial biodiversity. However, the most striking are the limestone caves, true portals to the island's geological and human past. These caves, like the famous Hawk Cave, are a testament to time, with deep galleries that hold inscriptions and artifacts from ancient civilizations, offering clues to Socotra's hidden history. These mostly unexplored caves represent an aspect of the island that remains unknown, even to modern scientists. On Socotra, every corner of this landscape seems designed to amaze. Some areas, with their rocky, arid terrain, look so strange that they evoke images of the lunar surface or more reminiscent of planets like Mars. These regions not only defy visual expectations, but also become natural laboratories of evolution. In this challenging environment, numerous species have developed extraordinary adaptations, becoming living examples of biological resilience and creativity. This contrast between the inhospitable and the awe-inspiring reinforces the perception of the island as a unique place on the planet, and these features in its landscapes have earned it the nickname of the Alien Island. These adaptations in both the shape of the landscape and the life of the species that populate the island are not only a reflection of the resilience of life on Socotra, but also underscore the inhospitability of the environment, especially in its mountainous interior, where relentless winds make human life nearly impossible. Socotra's remoteness and lack of development have helped preserve its natural purity. Until a few years ago, the island had no paved roads, and tourism remains limited and controlled. This has allowed Socotra to remain untouched, almost primitive, and to become a sanctuary for those seeking the extraordinary. Here, human interaction with nature remains minimal, reinforcing the sense that one is exploring a corner of the planet that time has forgotten. The island is a perfect example of how isolation can create something extraordinary. The lack of contact with the outside world has not only preserved its biodiversity, but has also allowed its inhabitants to maintain an intimate relationship with their natural surroundings. This balance between the human and the natural is part of what makes Socotra so special, and why it is considered one of the most unique and strange places on the planet. The experience of visiting Socotra is, in many ways, like traveling to another world. It is a place where the unexplored and the inhospitable combine to offer a glimpse of what the Earth might have been like in a more primitive time. As we had told you from Uncensored World, we have investigated the best way to access and enjoy this magical island, and now we are going to help you to know these details. But before doing so, we would like to ask you, what has surprised you the most about Socotra? Would you like to visit this island, meet its people, and be amazed by its wonders? Pause the video and leave us your comment. Doing so is the best way for you to help Uncensored World work to bring you unique and wonderful content like this. So, thank you. It is important to note that Socotra belongs to Yemen, a country that in recent years has faced serious conflicts and insecurity situations that place it among the most dangerous in the world today. However, the island of Socotra, due to its geographical isolation and remoteness from the epicenter of these conflicts, has managed to remain relatively safe compared to other regions of the country, offering visitors a calm and protected environment. To reach Socotra, the most direct option is to take charter flights departing from Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. These flights, run by local tour operators, are usually scheduled once a week, making it necessary to plan ahead. Tickets are not available online and must be purchased through specialized agencies that also handle visa arrangements. It is important to know that, in order to visit Socotra, it is mandatory to obtain a visa in advance. This process must be done through a local travel agency that will handle the application with the Yemeni authorities. Generally, a scanned copy of the passport is required, and the process can take a few days. The cost of the visa is usually around $150, although this can vary depending on the agency and the additional services they offer. As for accommodation, Socotra offers options ranging from simple hotels to beach camps. Prices can vary, but in general, a night in a basic hotel can cost between $50 and $100. Given the island's isolation, many products must be imported, which increases living costs. For example, a coffee can cost around $2 to $3. For all these reasons, it is advisable to carry enough cash, preferably in US dollars, as card payment options are very limited. Until a few years ago, the island had no paved roads, which contributed to its isolation. Today, tourism is limited and controlled, preserving the purity of the environment, so the tourist infrastructure in Socotra is limited, although it is improving in recent years. There are a few roads connecting the main localities, but many areas still require off-road vehicles for access. Public transportation is practically non-existent, so the most effective way to get around the island is by renting a vehicle with driver, a service that is generally organized by local travel agencies. This method not only facilitates mobility, but also provides the experience and knowledge of local guides that enrich the visit. As you have seen, visiting Socotra requires careful planning and collaboration with local tour operators to facilitate the visa, transportation, and accommodation process. But despite any difficulties, we are confident that the experience of exploring one of the most unique and mysterious islands on the planet far outweighs any challenges along the way. As you have discovered, Socotra is more than an island. It is an enigma, a place where geography, climate, flora, fauna, and humankind have converged to create unique forms, giving rise to a unique world that looks like something out of a fantasy story. Its isolation, both physical and cultural, has turned it into a refuge for the extraordinary, a reminder that there are still corners of the planet where the unknown and the marvelous can survive. From Uncensored World, we hope this video has helped you to discover one of the most remote and unknown jewels of the planet, and that it has been as interesting for you as it has been for us. If so, do not hesitate to leave us a nice like and a comment. It is the best way to help us to keep working to bring you every week interesting content like this, or like this video that you can watch now, to discover another of the most mysterious and beautiful places on the planet. Click on it. You will enjoy it.